Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
In the late night hours when the world's asleep, Rob McConnell's voice echoes secrets to keep. From Roswell's whispers to tales of the sky, on the X Zone Radio we learn to fly high. With every new guest the story unfolds, from abductees' tales to the mysteries told. Government cover-ups, they're deep and they're wide, but we're on a quest with the truth as our guide. Oh, journey through the X Zone, the cosmos we roam, searching for answers beyond our earthly home. Are we alone in the dark or watching from afar? In the heart of the night we're reaching for stars. They say there's a base where the secrets are bound. Area 51.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ-AM, and throughout Southern Ontario on your AM dial at 1220. And they are kind enough to get us right around the world as they stream us on classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Now, if you would like to listen to any of our show archives, as well as any of the other shows that are produced by Relmar McConnell Media Company, including Kevin Randall's A Different Perspective, Larry Lawson, Paranormal Stakeout, Gwilda Wiyaka, Mission Evolution, and many more other shows, just visit www.xzbn.net. Exonation, this hour here on the X Zone, we welcome researcher, author, and explorer of the unexplained, a good friend of the X Zone, Jeff Danelek. From the mysteries of Atlantis to the ancient civilizations to ghosts, reincarnation, UFOs, and deeper questions surrounding consciousness and spirituality, Jeff has spent years diving into the subjects that continue to fascinate humanity. Through his work at www.ourcuriousworld.com, Jeff challenged us to think beyond the ordinary and to consider possibilities that may lie just outside the boundaries of conventional understanding. If you've ever wondered whether there's more to our existence than what we can see, hear, and touch, well, tonight's conversation may open up an entirely new door of thought for you. Joining us now from Our Curious World is my friend Jeff Danelek. And Jeff, welcome back to the X Zone.
Hey, Rob, great to read back.
Great having you with us, my friend. What have you been up to since you and I last talked? How many more books have you written in that period of time?
Well, I just finished doing the final edits for my Explaining Ghost book for Llewellyn. And so that's going off. That's going to come out in September. So I'm really excited about that.
And you should be. And by the way, the people at Llewellyn do a great job. I love all their authors and their books. So please say hi to them the next time you're speaking to them for me.
Yeah, they're a great group.
Yep.
They were really nice to let me rework that book. That the original book I did on this, the Case for Ghosts, I put out in 2005, and then it went out of print. And I contacted them and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a rework on it?" And they were open to it. So I was really surprised and very pleased that they were willing to do that.
Jeff, for the new listeners that we have through our new affiliates around the world, now we're in 170 countries, by the way.
Wow.
What first sparked your fascination with the paranormal and the unexplained?
Oh, it must have been something in the water when I grew up in Minnesota. I don't know. I was just one of those kids who I grew up just liking UFOs and Bermuda Triangle and all this. I was just fascinated with all this stuff for no particular good reason, much to my parents' chagrin, because they figured, well, you're never going to make a living doing that. So,
boy, you fooled them, didn't you?
I what?
You fooled them.
Yeah. Too bad they didn't live long enough to see me.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay.
How would you describe the mission behind our curious world?
Well, I like to approach these different phenomena kind of in a neutral manner. I like to think that I'm both a skeptic and a believer at the same time, believe it or not. I like to look for explanations to explain these things, but I'm also open to a lot of things out there that science just won't look at. And I think that's really sad, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we just don't know about, and we're not going to unless we get serious about opening our mind and just kind of examining the evidence before making up our mind about what's out there.
Why do you think the scientific community, even after all these years and the millions of people who are coming forward with stories about Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, and other aspects of the paranormal and parapsychology that you and I talk about all the time, science is still not willing to get behind the investigation into all these topics? Why do you think that is?
I think there's a couple of reasons. First of all, the scientific method says you shouldn't believe anything is true unless you can prove it. So they immediately start from the premise that something probably isn't true.
And how many of these scientists go to church on Sundays? That's what I'd like to know.
I think very few of them, I imagine. But the other reason I think is this funding. I think if you get associated with some of this stuff, your funding can dry up pretty quick. And if that's your living, are you going to really take a chance on that? But there's a couple of them out there who will do it, but not very many. Well,
can't these scientists go after the unweaponized fund now that President Trump is making that available?
Yeah, once the Congress comes back sometime in September and votes on it.
Oh, what a... You and I were having a good chuckle before we went on air, and just makes you wonder. Wasn't President Trump supposed to drop a whole bunch of files on the UFO phenomenon?
Well, yeah, that was one way to divert from Epstein. Yeah, I mean, I looked through those. I didn't see a lot in there that was particularly interesting. Just dots in the sky, and there's a light, and But, I just don't really know if that information's there. I'm just not convinced that this government is competent enough to keep something of that nature covered up this long.
It does raise a number of questions. I've watched the congressional hearings, which I thought was a waste of time, not only for myself, but the other viewers, and I'm sure a number of the witnesses thought the same, especially when there would be a great question asked by one of the congressmen or a senator, and the response from the witness, what was his name, David Grush?
Yeah.
His favorite saying was, well, I can't disclose that in public, but we can do it in a skiff. Well, excuse me, you've got the public out here who would like to know what the hell's going on, and since Congress or the Senate called you, they asked you a question. Shouldn't you just share it with everyone? Wrong.
I don't understand why you want to be a whistleblower, and then as soon as you get up there, you refuse to blow the whistle.
Well, I guess it was the only way that he could get on television.
It was always like, I heard this from other people.
Exactly.
This guy told me that this guy knew somebody who knew someone, and he's like, that's nothing. That's a nothing burger.
Yeah. I had Tim Carey on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we got into a bit of a discussion that he was telling me that the UFO community has all the information that they could win a case in court based on the evidence that they have that UFOs are real. I said, well, okay, what's the evidence? Well, people say they saw a UFO. People say they saw a crashed UFO in Roswell. People say they saw the extraterrestrials in Area 51 or at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And, well, who are these people? Well, I don't know, but people say this. So how can you go into a court of law and give this testimony and really think that you're going to come out with a win? Wrong.
No, this whole subject is really rife with people who are just looking for publicity, I think. There are some legitimate investigators out there who are really doing some good work, but they kind of get drowned out by the more sensationalist people out there. And that's really kind of a pity because it keeps the public from taking it seriously.
That's right. You know, I'm not a psychic. I've never claimed to be a psychic, but I'm going to make a psychic prediction right here, right now with you, my friend, that within 3 to 4 weeks, we are going to have a flap of UFO sightings, alien abductions, and close encounters of a third kind, as well as Bigfoot sightings with UFOs.
Wow. Be a busy news week.
Actually, no. I know that Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure is going to come to theaters.
Oh, yeah. I want to see that. That sounds like an interesting movie.
It does, but we've all seen it with Close Encounters of a Third Kind. We've all seen it with E.T., and what was that one with Will Greer? Not Will Greer, but Will Smith.
Sorry, Independence Day?
Yeah. You know, sightings went up. Alien abductions went up. Cattle mutilations went up. Like, everything goes up. And then after a while, it dies back down. But now MUFON is including, what were they telling me? Now they're including Bigfoot as part of the UFO phenomenon.
Huh. Well, that would explain how he gets here, huh?
Well, this is what they're saying, and of course, then it made sense to, wait a minute, wasn't there a Bigfoot in the, oh my gosh, my mind's not working right tonight. The, the movie to do with Luke Skywalker and, come on, help me out here.
You talking about the Wookiee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the big Wookiee. Yeah, there was. He would look like Bigfoot, didn't he?
Exactly. You know, what was the name of that? Star Wars.
Yeah, Chewbacca.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, who knows, my friend? When we come back, I'd love to talk to you about ghosts and other great things that go bump in the night. Exonation, my guest is a good friend, Jeff Danelek. And if you'd like to find out more about Jeff, if you'd like to get a copy of his books, we're going to tell you all that on the other side of this break, but his website is www.ourcuriousworld.com. This is the X, and I'm Rob McConnell. Jeff and I return on the other side of this break, so don't go away or get abducted by extraterrestrials or don't have anybody put a curse on you or, get a cup of coffee. Join us back here in about 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
From Roswell's whispers to tales of the sky, on the X-Zone Radio, we learn to fly high. With every new guest, the story unfolds, from abductees' tales to the mysteries told. Government cover-ups, they're deep and they're wide, but we're on a quest with the truth as our guide. Oh, journey through the X-Zone, the cosmos we searching for answers beyond our earthly home. Ooh, guys. Yeah. Breaking news on every screen. Check the vaults for little green. Government dust in folders old, looking for the saucers people told. Trump said, fine, let's open the stash. Find the aliens, clear the trash. People keep asking night and day, let's see what's hiding in the USA. Hey, open the UFO files, let's see what's there. Flying saucers, aliens, or just hot air. Every blurry light at 2 a.m. turns into a spaceship for them. Open the UFO files, read every page, Area 50 fun or a story. some guys drone flying by. Yeah. But that's talk got folks all loud. Internet instantly lost the crowd. One guy yelling, they walk among us. Neighbors sue by an alien fungus. Scientists, science, coffee in hand. Universe big, please understand. Life out there may be true, but it ain't parked next door to you. Hey! Open the UFO files, shine the light if aliens landed. They picked the wrong night, 'cause if they watched our TV shows, they'd lock the doors and off they go. So open the UFO files, shout hooray, half the world screaming, proof of today. While the Pentagon quietly replies, mostly balloons and weather guys. Reporter, sir, do aliens exist? Could be. Lots of people say yes. No confirmed contact. That's exactly what aliens would say. Hey! Open the UFO files, read them all. Did ET phone and never call? 'Cause somewhere in space, a little green crew watching Earth like, yeah, we're good, thank you. Skip that planet. They're weird enough already.
And that is Open Those UFO Files from the third album that we have just released on the Exome Radio Music label. My guest this hour is the one and only Jeff Danelek. And Jeff, welcome back. So what did you think about the Open the UFO Files?
Well, I'm just dancing around here in my bathrobe. That was quite the beat.
We could have done without the bathrobe. The dancing was okay.
All right, the bathrobe's gone.
Oh, my God, that's even worse. Did I ever tell you that I used to be a tap dancer, but I had to give it up because I kept on falling off the sink?
Jeez.
Do you know how to make holy water?
No.
Boil the hell out of it.
Oh, hey, that's good.
Yeah, you can use it. Two guys sitting in a bar. One guy says to the other guy, he says, you know what, I'm really lucky. My mother-in-law's a real angel. The other guy looks around and says to him, you're damn right, mine's still alive. All right, so there we go. I've insulted my grandmother, my mother-in-law, I should say. My grandmother. Oh, I'm going to get it for that one. And, of course, the Pope's going to be calling us again for that holy water joke, so don't answer the phone, Craig, if it's from Italy.
Here's one. Here's a joke for Canada.
Okay.
So
Trump?
what animal has big claws,
Yes.
big teeth,
Yes.
it's white,
Yes.
and sometimes it's depressed, and other times it's very excited?
Donald Trump?
The bipolar bear.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that is so good. That is so good.
Hey, that's patented there. So don't.
That is really good, Jeff. Speaking about your books,
And we should do that.
yeah, are we any closer to finding the truth behind the paranormal phenomena?
I think sometimes I don't think we are, and other times I think we're just right on the precipice of it. Especially when you look at like quantum physics and some of the things they're coming up with in terms of energy and alternate universes and the things like that, where it's like science starting to realize that energy really can't be destroyed. So, and we're made up of energy. So when we pass, they're starting to think, where does that go? What's the source of consciousness? Those kinds of questions are really starting to kind of work their way into the psyche. And I think it's making it more reasonable to believe in things like ghosts than it has ever been in the past.
During the research that you've done for your many books, especially the ghosts, is there any common thread that you've been able to establish or identify between or amongst all the people who have ghost sightings?
Oh no, they actually, all kinds of people see ghosts. Some people who don't believe in ghosts run into them all the time. Obviously, you can induce yourself into having an experience if you're, the type of person of that kind of a fantasy personality. But a lot of people who see ghosts were not expecting to. And so I think that's what I find most interesting. It's not the people who are looking for them that I listen to. It's the people who weren't looking for them and who ran into them.
Do children see ghosts more than adults? Do adults see ghosts more than children? Or is there any statistic that accounts for the sighting of ghosts?
Well, okay, I understand that children often are able to sense paranormal activity, kind of like dogs and cats. They have that sixth sense.
Right.
They hold on to until they get a little bit older. But little kids seem to be able to see spirits. They will talk about a grandparent or something that came by, and the parents just freak out because grandpa's been dead for 3 months.
Right.
And, so I do think that children, because they are so have been so recently in the spiritual realm before they came here, they still retain some of that ability until they grow to a certain age and they just sort of lose it. It's a lot like kids who remember past lives when they're 4 or 5 years old, but by the time they're 9 or 10, they don't remember it anymore. So it seems to have that same kind of variable in it.
It's just like a dream. The longer you're away from the dream, the more you forget about it.
Yeah, it just seems just kind of maybe our culture sort of works this out of it, out of us. Says, hey, you're just imagining that, so don't talk about it anymore. But it just does seem like there is some kind of a mechanism in place in a lot of people who do have that ability and then lose it later on in life.
There's been a new paper released by a psychiatrist and a psychologist in Norway, where the psychiatrist is a dream scientist, and he's come to the conclusion, based on his research, that you cannot dream of anything you have not seen or experienced, which opens the door to reincarnation again.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could, if you got a good imagination, science fiction works a lot with things that you haven't actually seen. So I think that you can actually experience things that, you haven't actually encountered in life, but it has to be within a parameter of understanding. In other words, it can't be something that's so far out there that you have no concept of how it works. So it's there's still some limitations in what you can imagine. Even in science fiction and fantasy, you still have rules. You have gravity. You have things like that still play in it.
In the research that you've done on ghosts, do you have a lot of cases where people have had dreams of people who have departed, or messages from the other side that have been able to be verified on this side by researchers like yourself?
Well, actually, I got one in my own life. When I was first dating my wife, her father had passed a few years earlier, and she was wondering if she was going to marry me. She had very great trepidation, apparently, and she woke up one morning and she said, "I talked to my dad." And I said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, I was in the cabin up by Buffalo Creek there, and he came in and we sat down at the table and we talked about, whether I should marry you or not. And he gave me his blessing." And so that was, I thought, pretty amazing story. Fortunately, he didn't shoot me down, so that was good. But yeah, that happened almost 42 years ago.
Wow. So I'm going to try and ask this question so it makes sense. I know it makes sense the way that I'm asking myself. When it comes to investigating stories or accounts of ghosts, have you found any logic behind the way that when a person sees a ghost of a dearly departed one, that they always seem a lot younger during the apparition than they did at the time of their death?
Well, that is sometimes the case. Yeah, they actually tend to see the person as they remember them when they were last seen as healthy.
Okay.
So, for example, a lot of people will see their grandfather, but not as he looked in the hospice, but as he looked when he was, still younger and vibrant. So I do think that there is an element of that in play. I think also the spirit can appear how it wants to look to you. In other words, it can actually manifest itself in such a way that you will recognize it and realize who it is, but they're not necessarily like, I would never imagine my mother would appear to me as an infant.
Okay. Yes.
Because
you hadn't seen your mother as an infant.
So I never saw her. I mean, I can't remember her being anything less than 40 years old.
Right.
So I'm assuming that if she appeared to me, she would look 40 years old, because that's how I remember her when she was at her, prime in life.
Sure.
Grandma the same way. I don't think I can imagine my grandma being less than 60 years old.
But if we're saying that the spirit has the ability to appear to us in a way that we would be less scared, if I can use that, doesn't that mean that the spirits have an intelligence? And
I think when you pass, you don't lose any of that.
You don't.
It all stays there. I don't think that you become smarter or dumber when you die. I think you just kind of go onto the other side with whatever tools you had available to you when you were here.
Do you think that the media portrays spirits in a way that is contrary to the way that you as a real researcher and author portrays the spirits or reports the spirits?
Well, if you're talking Hollywood, they tend to go for the scare factor.
Yeah.
So they make all of them look just really scary. Most of the people that I've ever talked to about spirits, generally, if it was a spirit of someone they knew in life, it was usually a fairly pleasant experience. The only time people get scared is when they didn't know who it was that showed up.
Gotcha. Stand by, Jeff. You and I have to take our break at the middle of the hour. Exonation. Jeff Danelek is our very special guest. www.ourcuriousworld.com. And we'll be back as we continue talking about the paranormal, the strange, the weird, the bizarre, here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220. And you can listen to Classic 1220 on the AM dial anywhere in southwestern Ontario. And they stream us around the world at classic1220.ca.
That's got to say Humpty Trumpty took a fall. That's for... Well, that's Billy Diddy minute. I gotta win along and be in pizza. No, Humpty Trumpty took a fall. Oh, it's the only way to bury ya. Humpty Trumpty sat on a wall, pointing at maps like he owned them all. Said Greenland's big, it's white, it's cold. I'll buy the thing just like I'm told. He waved a check, he made a grin. Forgot to ask the people living in. Turns out nations aren't for sale, no matter how loud the fairy tale. Humpty Trumpty took a fall and Denmark said no deal at all. All the bluster, all the brag, slid downhill on an icy flag. Humpty Trumpty learned too late, you can't buy countries, checkmate. He huffed, he puffed, he threatened might, posted memes deep into the night, said I'll take it one way or another. World said, buddy, read the cover. Greenland laughed beneath the snow, NATO sighed and whispered no. Diplomacy's not monopoly, you don't pass go with ego fee. Oh, Humpty Trumpty took a fall from the tallest wall of all the tweets and tough guy talk cracked like ice beneath his walk. Humpty Trumpty hit the ground, ownership dreams officially drowned. No receipt, no refund, no empire built on frozen ground. Humpty Trumpty took a fall, the loudest flop the world recalls. Gold-plated dream, zero control, turns out you can't own the North Pole. Humpty Trumpty, lesson learned, maps aren't deeds, and ice gets burned. Humpty Trumpty left the wall, still claiming it was rigged and all, but Greenland stayed right where it stood, independent, free, and not for sale. Period. Humpty Trumpty. Period.
Jeff Danelek's our special guest, our CuriousWorld.com, and that was Humpty Trumpty. It's also one of the songs on our third album. And never mind. I'm not going to go there. Even though Jeff wants me to, I'm not going to.
All
right. What is your favorite part of the paranormal? Is it ghosts? Is it Bigfoot? Is it UFOs? Is it...
Well, since I have a big interest in spirituality, I guess ghosts are just kind of a natural byproduct of that. Because really, if we survive death, then ghosts are kind of pointing us in the direction that we need to follow. So I think that's always been the most interesting to me, even though I've never actually seen a ghost myself. I'm open to the possibility of doing so, telling the universe now, so go ahead and send a ghost along. But I just think that's probably the most important issue, because if ghosts are real, then we do survive death. And then the question is, what happens then?
Have you interviewed mediums and psychics during the research of your books?
I've been to a couple of psychics and gotten readings from them. However, I haven't really gotten a chance to work with like a full-time ghost hunting medium. I think that would be a fascinating avenue to take, but I just don't have that community around me right now. I guess I'm so in so many different things that it's hard for me to concentrate on one of them.
Well, if you'd like the name of a few, I'll be glad to send them to you, my friend.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I would love to. I'm doing a podcast now on my YouTube channel.
Excellent. So congratulations.
Yeah.
What separates genuine paranormal investigations from entertainment-driven sensationalism, in your opinion?
Well, I think a serious investigator doesn't really want to be on TV that much. I mean, they can do it, and you can get some good results from that. But people who are serious about this try to keep kind of a low profile because they realize it's so easy for it to fall into the realm of entertainment rather than research. So you do want to keep your good credentials around this and not throw it away on some TV show. But for the most part, I think the biggest difference are the people who are they don't go to like cemeteries at 10 o'clock at night and take pictures. They're actually researching the place that they're looking at. They're trying to determine how reliable the witnesses are, looking for other explanations. And if they do that, they're probably pretty legitimate.
It's funny you mentioned going to the cemeteries and taking photos, because I was talking to Marlene Palliser on Friday, and she is with, let me see, Miami Ghost Chronicles, and she's been doing paranormal investigations for years, and she was saying that, why people go to graveyards to see ghosts is beyond her and other credible paranormal researchers, because I know when I come back as a ghost, the last place I will want to be is in a graveyard. You'll be able to find me in a pub, in a bar, or having a lot of fun, but not in a graveyard. And here's a question for you, Jeff. Have you ever heard of a haunted undertaking parlor?
No, I never have, honestly. When I think about it, I had never really thought about that. But I mean, I've never heard of anybody haunting a funeral home. I've heard of hauntings in hospitals,
yes,
especially mental hospitals. And I've heard of people haunting prisons. I don't know why a ghost would want to hang out in a prison, although my theory is that they are sort of trapped there. They're afraid to move on for various reasons, and so they end up staying in the place that was most familiar to them while they were on Earth.
I wonder where Jeffrey Epstein haunts.
He's probably on his island, I would guess, wouldn't you think?
Or the White House.
Yeah, he's got his own room in the back, probably.
And I wonder if he uses an auto pen. I don't know. Questions for an inquisitive mind. When do we know when the first documented writing about ghosts took place?
Oh, well, ghosts have been in some of the writings of the ancient Greeks. The ancient Romans talked about ghosts. They've been a part of almost every culture. I think actually every culture on the planet has ghost stories as part of its heritage. So it's been that's the thing I think a lot of scientists overlook is the fact that this is not an American phenomenon or a 20th century phenomenon. This goes back thousands and thousands of years. And I think that when that happens, you have to look at it seriously. All these different cultures who have no contact with each other are coming up with the same stories.
And of course, like the Egyptians, there are other cultures that believed in life after death. And, the Egyptians would prepare, what was it? They would prepare their body as well as inside the death chamber, there would be supplies or food that they could use on the other side. Once again, why aren't the scientists looking at this and saying, hey, there has to be something more to this than just folklore?
Well, there has never been an atheist culture. Archaeologists have never come across any tribe or group or any nation state that didn't have a belief in an afterlife.
Well, once again, the question, remains asked. Well, why don't they take it seriously then? We're not talking about a one in a million times. We're talking about continuously throughout history. And then if you even look into the Bible, the Holy Ghost, the voice of God, the visions that are talked about. Once again.
Well, scientists are materialists, so they don't believe there's anything that exists other than just matter. So when you die, there is nothing to survive.
Well, what about quantum physics?
Well, that's kind of a new area that they're looking into, especially the source of consciousness. Hard question. And I think that is one area that you're going to see a lot of growth in the next couple of decades. And I think you could even see some breakthroughs there with people looking at that. But again, it's the same reason the truck driver that doesn't care about ghosts. He's never seen one. So obviously, if you don't encounter this kind of thing in your life, it doesn't exist as far as you're concerned.
You've written extensively about Atlantis. What originally drew you to that mystery?
I think it was topography. During the last ice age, the water levels were a couple of 100 feet lower than they are now around the oceans. And if you look at a map of the world, especially an oceanographic map, you'll see that there's huge continents emerge from out of the South Pacific. The islands of Indonesia form one giant continent the size of Western Europe when you lower the water level a couple 100 feet. And it occurred to me that how could it be that nothing happened there? That there wasn't a possibility even of some kind of a civilization emerging in the tropical areas of the planet during the last ice age. And so that kind of got me thinking, if there were something like that, there was some kind of a civilization that existed prior to our own, this is where it would be. And then I just kind of took off from there. I explored the whole idea of Atlantis being a metaphor for ancient civilizations that have emerged and since been destroyed or just died out. And so that's to me is what really got my interest in it.
How many books have you written to date?
Boy, I think about a dozen, I would say, right in that range. I don't really keep track. A couple of them I've co-written, co-authored. But yeah, I would say about a dozen books.
And when you were writing these books, which topic came to you the easiest, that you had an enjoyable time writing? Because I know I've spoken to other authors who've written multiple books, and there's always one or two that they really enjoyed writing. And in your case, which book would that be?
Well, the one that had the most impact upon me personally was the book on reincarnation, The Case for Reincarnation.
Right.
And because I had experiences of a past life, I've gone through past life regressions and all that kind of thing. And it was interesting because it answered so many questions about my own childhood. And so when I wrote that, it really was kind of almost doing an examination of my own past,
right,
my own life. Not so much trying to convince others about reincarnation, but just trying to work out what happens between lives. And so that was probably my most enjoyable book.
Prior to writing your book, did you have a belief in reincarnation? And I should say prior to your own past life experiences, did you believe in reincarnation?
Well, this is kind of strange because for 20 years I was evangelical Christian. Mm-hmm. And of course, reincarnation is not a part of Christian theology. It was with the Gnostics, but for the most part, modern Christianity doesn't believe in reincarnation. So no, I didn't believe in it. And in fact, I came to change my mind about it by reading Edgar Cayce. Now, Edgar Cayce, if you know who he is, obviously, he's one of the great
sleeping prophet, yeah.
Yeah, the sleeping prophet. But he was also a strong Christian. And he would actually talk about reincarnation. And then when he would wake up from his dream, mm-hmm. People would tell him what he talked about, and he would say, "Oh no, that couldn't possibly be true." Because he was a Christian, he didn't believe any of this stuff. And I thought, if a born again Christian is coming up with this stuff under hypnosis, while he's in a coma, there's got to be something to it. Otherwise, because he would have otherwise could have fashioned his beliefs based upon his own belief system. But he didn't do that. It actually countered his belief system, which I thought was very impressive evidence for it.
Jeff, stand by. We've got to take our final break for this hour in Exonation. If you'd like to find out more about our guest this hour, the one and only Jeff Danelek, if you'd like to find out how you can purchase his books or where you go, I would imagine that all his books are available on Amazon, or the information will be on his website at ourcuriousworld.com. Jeff and I will be back as we wrap up this first hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
By countries, checkmate. He huffed, he puffed, he threatened might. Posted memes deep into the night. Said I'll take it one way or another. World said, buddy, read the cover.
Melania walks in slow-mo style. Melania walks in slow-mo style. Melania pauses, waits a while. Melania stares like there's a plan. Melania. Amazon said, yes, ma'am. Big budget glow, no rush at all. Melania framed on a marble wall. Is this a film or a perfume ad? Melania looks deep, very serious, very sad. Melania hush, Melania pose. Melania knows how the spotlight goes. Say nothing loud, say nothing clear. Melania whispers, relevance is here. Melania, lights, camera, Melania. Strike that pose, look cinematic. Melania, media opportunia. Silent scene, but very dramatic. Following footsteps, polished and planned, just like a very famous man. Different stage, same old play. Melania found another way. Melania walks through empty halls. Melania echoes off gilded walls. Melania thinks this means something deep. Audience wonders why they're still awake. Melania stares, Melania turns. Melania waits for praise she's earned. Amazon hoped for buzz and praise. Melania delivered artsy haze. Melania soft, Melania vague. Melania wrapped in tasteful beige. If mystery sells, then here's the trick. Melania makes boredom chic. Melania, lights, camera, Melania. Streaming dreams in widescreen gloss. Melania, brand extension, Melania. What's unclear, but budget's boss. From White House Hall
Millennia.
Lights, camera, millennia.
Soft focus power.
Silent rain.
Millennia.
Opportunist millennia.
Different venue.
Same campaign. History fades, the camera stays. Millennia thrives in modern days. When the credits roll and claps are thin, millennia still finds a win. Fade to black, couture goodbye. Millennia waves as critics sigh. No matter the medium, stage or plan, Millennia learned it from the master plan.
Millennia.
And there you go, a tribute to the First Lady of the United States, Melania. Oh, boy. Once again, Craig, if the White House calls, I'm not here. Tell them I've gone to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Why, I don't know, because no one's there, apparently. All right, our guest is Jeff Danelek. Jeff, are there any paranormal claims that you personally remain skeptical about? I mean, besides the one in Washington?
Right. There was a movie made recently, The Conjuring, and that movie, I don't know. It seems to me like it was more Hollywood than real. If you start looking into it, a lot of it was exaggerated quite a bit. Also, the Amityville horror, that whole thing. It's still a lot of questions whether that was something that really happened or if it was really all made up. So there's a couple of them I think out there that became very popular in the psyche but just I don't really think they had any basis for reality in them.
No, and in fact, a number of the people that I know, both in the media as well as within the paranormal community, have nothing but bad things to say about The Conjuring. You know,
just too much stuff happening. It's just Hollywood,
Exactly. What advice would you give someone beginning their own exploration into the unexplained, Jeff?
Well, if you want to be a ghost hunter, I talk about this in my book, kind of what you need to do to get there. First of all, you got to really educate yourself on this whole business. What's been done, how the equipment works, and then get yourself into a group. Look up online and see if you've got a local ghost hunting group in your area, and see if you can volunteer to go with them. If they check you out and you seem like you're not in it just for grins and giggles,
right?
They might take you along. I mean, that's how I got onto some of these ghost hunts. I would just say, hey, Brian, got anything going on? He'd say, yeah, we're going to check out this place. And so I'd sit in the attic for 4 hours in the middle of the night, So you just have to kind of educate yourself as much as you can. And you can learn a lot of stuff online. You really can.
So I would imagine, like, when you say go along with a ghost hunter, that would be the same thing that we used to do in the police force. If somebody was interested in law enforcement, we'd call it a ride-along. Yeah.
It's exactly the same way. Yeah, you have to get out there and actually see if you're into doing this kind of stuff. Because a lot of people, it looks cool on TV, but then when you're sitting there watching 15 hours of video looking for something to happen, it loses its allure pretty quickly.
Yeah, I understand the FBI had that problem with the Epstein files as well.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. No. What do you believe is the single greatest mystery facing humanity today, Jeff?
The question of life after death. I mean, that's really takes you back to everything else, because if this is just a single experience that we're having, a lot of it doesn't make much difference, really. But if there is an afterlife and we go on consciously into other experiences, other dimensions, it says to me that there's a tremendous amount of things waiting for us on the other side. And I'm kind of excited about that.
Do you believe that life goes on after death? I mean, as my wife puts it, once you get rid of this meat suit.
Yeah, well, the consciousness, I think, remains. Obviously, the body becomes worm food. But the rest of it, I think, the essence of what you are, really, all your conscious memories, all of that, I think, exists on the other side. I just don't think there's really anything that is just lost. in nature. I think everything, even like a star explodes,
Right.
the elements of it eventually merge into another star. So it goes on living that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's the same thing with human thought,
Mm-hmm.
is that it just moves on and merges into something else and goes and keeps going on.
Jeff, after all your years researching the unknown, what do you believe humanity still does not fully understand about itself?
Wow, that's a big question.
I've got faith in you, my friend.
What is you may not understand about itself? I think why we're here. What's the reason for being born? What's the reason for being on this planet when we are?
Well, I know what the reason for being born is.
What?
2 horny kids in a 6-pack.
That may have been the mechanism that got them there, but it's not the reason.
Well, of course it's the reason. Do you realize that life that we know, life is precious? Can't deny that. But
Right.
the moment we are conceived is the moment we start to die. Food for thought.
Well, actually, I think we continue to grow until we hit like our 20s, and then we start at that point start decaying.
What I was saying is that the moment you are actually conceived, that is when the death process starts.
Well, I guess,
Yeah.
I guess in a way, if you look at it that way, sure.
Yeah, I look at it strangely, I know, but doing this show for 36 years, you'd think that way too.
Well, that's the thing there's no such thing as death. Not really.
Yeah.
There's only life.
I like that.
It's just that it shows up in different forms, different formats.
Do you believe that the government is part of the conspiracy when it comes to UFOs, or the work with the extraterrestrials, Area 51, all the 50s and 60s talk where the government was working with the aliens. They made a deal that, yes, you can take so many humans for so much technology. Or do you think that's all part of the hype and the man-made mystery pertaining to the UFOs and ET question?
I just think that's what sells books. I really do. I do believe that the government has had experiences with extraterrestrial craft and things like that it's probably not too anxious to talk about. But in terms of alien encounters and abductions and all that kind of reverse engineering, I don't really believe any of that.
What about the Roswell crash or the Roswell incident? What's your take on that?
Operation Mogul. I
Yeah.
accept that.
I agree.
That makes sense. All that comes together. If you look at the actual facts of it,
Yep.
makes sense.
We've got about a minute and a half left. First of all, thanks a lot for being with us. Always a great pleasure. What's up and coming for you besides your new book that you've got coming out in September, is it?
Yeah, the book on the ghost is coming out in September, and then next May I've got another book coming out of England called Paranormal Perspectives and a secular look at God in the afterlife, in which I talk a lot more about some of these ideas we've talked about tonight. In terms of, I look at the idea of God from a secular perspective, not a religious one, and see if it makes any sense. And so I'm really excited about that book coming out too.
I can hardly wait to read it. I always like thinking strangely at times. People say, well, do you think there is a God? Well, I like to believe there is. And because if there is a God, then I and everyone else is part God. Because in the book of Genesis it said, and God said, let us create man in our image, in our likeness. Therefore, if we were created in the image and the likeness of God, then we are part God.
Actually, I think everything is a manifestation of the divine. I'm what's called a pantheist. And so I believe that everything is part of God.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you necessarily need a personal God to believe in, but you certainly should be aware of the fact that you're part of something much larger than you can imagine.
Jeff, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us. I want to thank you once again for joining us here in the X Zone. You're always more than welcome, my friend. And please let our listeners know what your website is and where they can buy your books.
Well, ourcuriousworld.com is where my website is. You can also type that into YouTube, and hopefully some of my videos will show up you might be interested in. The book isn't available yet. You might be able to pre-order it. We'll have to see how that works out. But yeah, and I'm always, I have a link in all of my websites about, you can send me an email if you want to talk about these things, and we'll talk about it.
Jeff, take care of yourself. My regards to your family and X Zone Nation. Once again, if you'd like to find out more about Jeff, please visit his website, ourcuriousworld.com. I'll be back on the other side of this short break as hour number 2 of the X Zone commences right now.
Live to set men free. How could millions all remember a world that never was? That single strange collective memory started all the buzz. Now people talk of time.